When that winter chill finally hits, there's nothing better than being in your warm, cozy home, right? But what if that very comfort, that warmth you create, is actually setting up a silent threat? Something working away, totally unseen, right inside your walls, just waiting to cause some serious damage. Let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on. You know, we spend so much time bracing for the freezing temperatures, the snow, the ice. We always think the bitter cold is the enemy. But what if I told you that the real, the costly, the structural damage happening to your home this winter has almost nothing to do with the cold itself? Yep, it's the water. And here's the craziest part. It's probably not coming from a leaky roof or a crack in the foundation. It's actually being created right now inside your home. So the big question is, how on earth does that happen? And more importantly, what can you do about it? Okay, so let's start by getting to know this invisible threat. I want you to think of it like a silent battle, and it's being fought inside your house every single day all winter long. The whole conflict is actually pretty simple. You've got your nice, heated, comfortable indoor air on one side, and on the other, you have the harsh, freezing Canadian winter. And your home's windows, your walls, your doors, they're the front line where these two forces smash together. And believe me, that's exactly where the trouble starts. So, how does warm air hitting cold air actually translate into real physical damage? Well, it all comes down to some surprisingly simple science. Let's break it down. The main culprit here is a process you've seen a million times. Condensation. You see all that humidity, all that moisture just floating around in your warm indoor air. Well, it has nowhere to go when it bumps up against a really cold surface. It instantly changes from an invisible gas into very real and very damaging liquid water. The physics behind this is super simple. Think of your warm indoor air like a big, fluffy sponge that's just full of invisible water vapor. Now, when that warm, damp air hits a freezing cold window pane, it's like someone is squeezing that sponge hard. The air cools down so fast that it just can't hold all that moisture anymore. And poof, it releases it as water droplets right there on the surface. All right, now that we know how it happens, let's look at where this enemy focuses its attack. These are the hot spots, the most vulnerable places in your home. Your drywall is basically a giant sponge. When condensation forms, say near a chilly window or a drafty door, the drywall just quietly soaks it up. You won't see it at first, not at all, but behind the paint, that chalky gypsum core starts to get soft, it starts to crumble, and it creates the perfect, dark, damp, hidden place for mold to take root. See, moisture is heavy, so it always wants to go down. It'll seep under the edges of your flooring, especially near those drafty doors and big windows. This is exactly what causes laminate to warp and buckle, or why you might get that musty, damp smell in your carpets. And if you ever see dark spots on your baseboards, that's a major red flag. And of course, windows are ground zero. They're the coldest surfaces in your home, which makes them absolute magnets for condensation. That water pools on the sills, it soaks into wooden frames, causing them to rot and the paint to peel, and then it drips down and starts damaging the drywall right below it. So here's the bottom line. Ignoring just a little bit of moisture leads to huge problems. We are talking about serious mold growth, ugly peeling paint, warped floors, and rotting wood. And get this, because damp materials are terrible insulators, it actually makes your heating bill go up too. It's like a chain reaction that all starts with just a single drop of water. And let's talk about the financial hit, because it is steep. We've seen homeowners staring down repair bills of $6,000, sometimes more, for mold removal and fixing structural rot. A little drip can completely saturate the wood inside a wall in just one season. And the most painful part? All of that could have been prevented with a simple sealing job that might have cost a few $100. The payoff for prevention is just enormous. What's really crazy is that a lot of the time, without even realizing it, we're actually helping the moisture win. So let's look at a few common mistakes that, we all probably make. Do any of these sound a little too familiar? Closing the curtains feels cozy, for sure, but it traps a little pocket of humid air right up against the cold glass, basically supercharging condensation. Ignoring those tiny cracks in your caulking, that's like leaving a little superhighway open for moisture to march right into your walls. And cranking up a humidifier can literally turn your house into a terrarium. And oh yeah, unsealed basements, they are a classic source of hidden dampness. So what's the sweet spot? The data is pretty clear on this one. You want to aim to keep your indoor humidity somewhere between 35 and 45%. That's enough to feel comfortable, but not so high that you're creating a jungle in there. And you can grab a cheap little device called a hygrometer to track it easily. Okay, enough about the problem. Let's talk solutions. The good news is that defending your home is actually really straightforward and totally manageable as long as you get ahead of it. Your entire defense plan really just boils down to 3 core strategies. First, you've got to create a strong barrier. Second, you have to manage the air inside your home. And third, you need to make sure the whole system is working together. So let's dig into the most critical step of all, building that barrier. Step 1 is all about sealing. This is your active defense. First thing, you got to check the caulking around all your window and door frames, inside and out. That is the #1 front line. Next up, reseal your bathroom fixtures. Any gaps there, just let steam pour into your walls. Then, look down. Seal that tiny gap between your baseboards and the floors to stop moisture from creeping up. And finally, please don't forget the basement. Sealing the joints where the walls meet the floor can stop a massive amount of hidden moisture from getting in. And listen, if you take only one thing away from all this, let it be this. Prevention is everything. Getting a complete, professional, waterproof seal isn't something you do after you see a problem. It's what you do to make sure the problem never even starts. The time to do this is now, before the really deep cold of winter settles in. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. Every single winter, your home acts like a shield, protecting you and your family from everything the season throws at you. The real question is, are you protecting it from the silent threat that's already inside?